Shabbat Shalom, everybody, and welcome to our service. As you can see, we're coming to you from our own homes today. It's Shabbat at home, and I'm Rabbi Javier Cadapan, and I'm joined by Leslie Zucker and our technical team behind the scenes. I just want to say from the very beginning that because of the restrictions that Zoom puts on all of us, we cannot sing together, Leslie and I, today. So when Leslie is singing, I will be muted, but I will be singing along. And we want you to do that at home. I'm doing exactly what you're doing at home every Shabbat, singing along with us, all the prayers and the songs and the readings. It might be a little behind. Don't worry too much about it. I'm going to participate as much as I can, and I invite you to do the same from home. If you are joining us on Facebook Live, we invite you to look at the comments where you can find links to the prayer pages and other information. If you're watching us on the virtual sanctuary, the link to the prayer packet is on top. It's the PDF. It's right above the player, and all other links will appear in the news that you received early yesterday, Friday morning. We want to especially thank our digital docents who are managing the stream. If you are now watching us on Facebook Live and like to say hello, we invite you to type Shabbat Shalom and then click enter so we can all see it. That's also a good way for you to learn how to post comments, which we invite you to do during the service, but not anything technical. If there are any technical issues, we invite you to text our technical assistance line, Tal, at 913-303-1134. And you text them, and a docent will get back to you as soon as possible and will help us correct any issues if we have any this morning. It's wonderful to see you all, and we are really thankful to be back together on this rather snowy and cold Shabbat morning here in Kansas City. Well, we're in Overland Park, but it's Kansas City in general. And we'd like to continue together on page 288 as we join our voices in Mode Ani. It's at the bottom of the page.
Rabbi
Continue together on page 291. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe. With divine wisdom, you have made our bodies, combining veins, arteries, and vital organs into a finely balanced network. Wondrous maker and sustainer of life, were one of them to fail, how well we are aware we would lack the strength to sustain life before you. Blessed are you, Adonai, source of our health and strength. Baruch atah Adonai, rofeh chol basar umafli la'asot. We gather on this Shabbat, and before we together thank God for bringing us back to life, breathing into us the breath of life, I'd like to share with you a meditation, a reading, a prayer before that. We're on the next page in our prayer packet. O God, the source of our common life, when we are dry and scattered, when we are divided and alone, we long for connection, we long for community. Breath of God, breathe on us. With those we live beside, who are often strange to us, whom we may be afraid to approach, yet who have riches of friendship to share, we long for connection, we long for community. Breath of God, breathe on us. With those we have only heard of, who see with different eyes, whose struggles we try to imagine, whose tears, joy we wish we could grasp. We long for connection, we long for community. Breath of God, breathe on us. With those we shall never know, but whose lives are linked to ours, whose shared ground we stand on, and whose common air we breathe, we long for connection, we long for community. Breath of God, breathe on us. When we are dry and scattered, when we are divided and alone, we are cut off from the source of our life. Open our graves, O God, that all your people may be free to breathe, strong to move, and joyful to stand together to celebrate your name. Amen.
Elohai, Neshama, Shenatata bi, Shenatata bi, Elohai, Neshama, Shenatata bi, Shenatata bi, Tehorahi, You created me, you shaped me, you breathed me into life. You created me, you shaped me, you breathed me into life. One more time. You created me, you shaped me, you breathed me into life. Elohai, Elohai, Neshama, Shenatata bi, Shenatata bi, Elohai, Neshama, Shenatata bi, Shenatata bi, Tehorahi, Tehorahi, Tehorahi.
On page 293, we together begin offering the prayers and blessings for Nisim Bechol Yom, our daily miracles. Again, begins on page 293.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lesech vivina lehavchin ben yom uvein laila.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam pokeach ivrim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam matir hasurim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam zokef kefufim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam rokaretz al hamayim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam המכין מצעדי גבר.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam malbish harumim.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם הנותן ליעף כוח.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamalvir sheina me'enai utnuma me'afapai.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעשני בצלם אלוהים.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani bat chorin.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שעשני ישראל.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam ozer Yisrael bigvulcha.
אמן. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם עוטר ישראל בתפארה.
Amen.
In the middle of page 302, we join together in singing the words of Psalm 92, Mizmor Shir Leyom HaShabbat, a psalm for Shabbat. Tzadik Katamar is where we begin singing together.
Tzadik katamar yitrach, ke'erez b'levanon yizkeh, shetulim lebeit Adonai, bechatzot Eloheinu yavrichu, od yanuvon leseva, v'shegim v'rananim yiyu lehagid ki yashar Adonai tuvi ve'ov atavot.
We conclude this section of the service Pezukei, the Zimra, on page 306, as together we sing Hallelujah, Psalm 150.
Hallelujah.
continue together on page 307. נשמעת קול חי, תברך את שמך אדוני אלוהינו. Let the soul of everything alive bless your name, Adonai our God, and the spirit of all flesh glorify and exalt your name forever, O sovereign. Transcending space and time, you alone are God. You are the unique sovereign who is Redeemer and Savior. God of you are the first and the last, God of all creatures, Master of all generations, who is praised in a multitude of praises, who guides the world with abundant loving kindness and all creatures with mercy. Adonai neither slumbers nor sleeps. Continue together at the bottom of page 313 with the words Or Chadash, a new light will shine upon Zion. We continue together on page 314. We prepare for the Shema, which will be on the next page, on page 318. The world is sunlight, restoring the soul, rejoicing the heart, bringing light to the eyes, more welcome than gold, a Torah from heaven. I have no light to give this morning. My Torah, my special human gift is words. As I bring my words forth from silence, welcome them, you who redeems the sun from darkness. Baruch atah Adonai, Yotzer HaMeorot.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם,
Adonai Elohim. Amen. We continue together on page 322 with the words of Mi Chamocha.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נטע בקודש, נורא תהילות עושה פלא, נורא תהילות עושה פלא, שירה חדשה שבכל גלים, לשמך שפת הים, יחד כולם הודו והמליכו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד.
We now prepare for our silent prayer. The Amidah, the standing prayer, begins on page 322 with Sur Israel and moves right into 323, and it goes through 337. If you're following the traditional prayers, we invite you to do them at your own pace, at home, by yourself, with your loved ones, wherever you are joining us on this Shabbat. And also take this time for a meditation or a private prayer. We begin together and we will conclude together at the end of the Amidah as well. Sur Israel, page 322.
צור ישראל, קומה בעזרת ישראל, ובדי עירך יהודה וישראל, גואלנו אדוני צבאות שמו, קדוש ישראל, ברוך אתה אדוני גואל ישראל. תפתחו פי כי תהילתך, Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. והגיון ליבי לפניך, יהיו לרצונים לפי, והגיון ליבי לפניך, אדוני צורי
It is now time for our service for the reading of the Torah. It begins on page 367 with Romemu. We invite you to find a link to the Torah reading in the comments and also within the e-news. Today we're reading from the book of Exodus, chapter 7, verses 8 through 18. It's the second year of a triennial cycle. We are in the second round of it because it's my 5th year. That's how it works, right? 3 years, 4, 5th. All right. At least in Jewish terms. Well, started in 2016, it's 2021. That is exactly 5 years. Is that right? So this, of course, is very important to our portion, like most of them. But this one in particular, it's a section that includes the very first of the 10 so-called plagues. And I say the word so-called plague because many commentators have pointed out that the Hebrew word for a plague doesn't really quite appear in the Torah portion. I know we're so used to think about this because we know the 10 plagues mostly from our Seder, the first night of Pesach, when we gather together and then recite the 10 plagues. As is often the case, we the Haggadah and Pesach in general is really an interpretation of what is included in the Torah. We don't read these chapters from the Torah during the Passover Seder itself. We refer to the 10 Makot. But the text itself the Torah itself calls the plagues other things like words that mean mostly miracles or wonders, otot, moftim. And there's a reason for that, which I think we can share this morning. Now, the first plague occurs in this week's Torah portion. This week's also Torah portion includes a famous words by God, let my people go. Mind you, you have to also remember that section, although it's a great song, it's missing the second half. Because the second half, it always appears, it actually appears the first time on chapter 5. And it says, Shalach ami vayahogu li bamidbar. Let my people go so that they can celebrate. Yahogu comes from the Hebrew word chag, right? Chag sameach, we say, right? So let my people go so that they will have chag, a special holiday for God. And in this week's portion, it says, let my people go ve'ya'avduni bamidbar, so that they will worship me in the desert. And later on appears one more time, lizboach ladonai, meaning lizboach, meaning to offer sacrifices to God. And the idea here is that there is always freedom for a reason. Isn't just God asking Pharaoh to free the Jewish people, and then we'll see what happens, kind of thing. It's mostly free as so there will be a purpose. And some of the commentators even suggest that in a midrash that Pharaoh said, well, okay, one kind that worship God here. I mean, well, I'll let you do that. It's all right. You just stay here. I need the slaves, but they can, yeah, sure, they can change their religion. And that's, I think, a piece that is sometimes missing in the story because it's not just freedom of religion that the Israelites were seeking, or that Moses and God were seeking from Pharaoh, but they were talking true freedom, which brings us to one very essential point about this plague and all the plagues. The plague in question today in this week's Torah portion, the first one is the one that turns the Nile into blood, and much has been written about the fact that this could have just been a normal occurrence of the river Nile, when the sediment will come down from the mountains up river and turn the river, kind of dark and red, and all that sediment also killed a lot of the fish, and it smelled bad for everybody. So I think every one of the plagues can be interpreted as a natural occurrence. But the Torah makes a point that it is not a natural occurrence, because there's not only one so-called plague, but there are actually 10. And that's why the Torah called them otot and moftim, signs and miracles. It is, I think, also missed that, I don't know if it's missed in translation, but it's just in general that all these plagues are very similar to the parting of the sea, right? Because again, the parting of the sea could be explained as a natural occurrence. But the point that the Torah is making is that these are all ways in which God controlled nature for a moral purpose, to teach us something about what it means to be human beings, and not just a simple, marvel. Even in the Torah portion, we find the magicians in Egypt being able to do some of the same tricks, quote unquote. But the point here is the addition of all 10 plagues that makes the difference. One of commentators that I often consult, which always brings an interesting perspective, is Rabbi Riskin, Shlomo Riskin, and he has a series of books that are basically short commentaries on each one of the Torah portions. But there's 5 books, right? So in his book called Shemot, Defining a Nation, he makes an interesting commentary or suggestion. And it is something that I haven't thought about before. That doesn't mean anything, it just means I haven't. But it is that the plagues themselves are actually a part of God's way of teaching not only the Egyptians, but also the Jewish people a moral lesson. Now, his interpretation is based on the idea that certain books of the Torah have an overarching theme. And he points out that in the book of Genesis, in Bereshit, we see God as the creator. Elohim is the force that demands a certain way of doing things. Ethical behavior, yes, on the part of Abraham and their followers. And Abraham then moves this into the next group. But in the book of Exodus, that changes, or there's another layer added on top of that. And here, God is seen not only as the creator, but he's also seen, and I'm reading Riskin is very orthodox, so, but God, uh, he, um, I'm going to quote here. Uh, the corollary of God, the sole creator, is that a human being is a mere creature, and therefore no human being has the right to enslave another. God, the sole creator, takes no partner along with God, with him, not the indomitable Nile River and not the powerful Pharaoh. Hence, no human being dare lord it over other human beings. No one dare arrogate unto oneself the right to enslave others. It is only within the Hebrew struggle to free the slaves that the next great move forwards in human history can take place. And this theme is no longer, Riskin suggests, God as the creator, but the recognition that God, uh, in this dialogue that he establishes with Pharaoh through Moses, uh, teaches Pharaoh and the Egyptians that only God is the author of life and death, and no earthly despot can claim the power for himself, and the Israelites must be free to leave Egypt. So God turns from the God who acts as the creator of the world, and now God is an active player in history. Is really changing history to teach a lesson. And basically, Shlomo Rabbi Riskin teaches, once it is understood that there is a sole God above all and no God below, it becomes impossible to enslave any human being. And that is actually the radical message of the book of Exodus. So the book of Bereshit, of Genesis, talks about God as the creator, and that is radical in itself. But then here we go to a moral level and the expression of how God then can only be expressed in history if there's no enslavement of man upon man. And on this special Shabbat, we call this Shabbat in our calendar. Shabbat Tzedek is the Shabbat right before Martin Luther King Jr.'s commemoration on Monday. And we had the pleasure to welcome Reverend Williams last night to share with us how Moses was an inspiration for Dr. King. And I think we're going even deeper, that it's not just Moses, Shlomo Riskin suggests, Rabbi Riskin, it's the whole story of the Exodus. And of course, Moses was an important person. And I think that we get here to the next level. And just to show how deep this is ingrained in our Jewish tradition, on the Exodus, on the Shabbat Kiddush that we recite on Friday nights. Although we haven't been doing the fall Kiddush for a while, I'm looking forward to that again in our beautiful Ulam with everybody there. We'll get there, but you probably do it at home, and we remember two things there. Zecher Maaseh Bereshit, in other words, that Shabbat is a way to remember that God created the world, because it says in 7 days God created the world. But it also says Zecher Litziat Mitzrayim. It's a remembrance of the Exodus from Egypt. And you're like, why are we remembering the Exodus on Shabbat? I understand the one about the creation, all right? I get it. 7 days and all that. But where does the Exodus from Egypt, and now we're talking about the entire narrative, not just the plagues, are to be remembered on Shabbat? And it is because, again, the corollary of the idea is that we're all creatures. And if we're all creatures, then one creature cannot enslave another creature. And therefore, Shabbat is the time when we celebrate that we are free. And even our servants and the animals and everything that we use during the week must rest on Shabbat, because we were slaves in the land of Egypt, and Adonai, our God, free us from there. So when we talk about the plagues, we're really talking about the recognition that we as human beings are so equal that there's no way that we can ever morally enslave another human being, or do anything that comes close to enslavement, degradation, and oppression, and all that. So here's our reading for this Shabbat, and I felt that I had to, for me at least, put it in context, because otherwise I think that the readings of the plagues in particular are very crude, because they really talk about all this really destructive things that happened to the Egyptians, and some of them were natural occurrences, but we want to give it, at least I need to give it some moral meaning behind it. We together recite the blessings before we're reading the Torah, and it is the alternative lessons are found on page 369. Holy One of blessings, your presence fills creation. You have enlightened this path with the wisdom of Torah, giving it to the Jewish people as their particular way. Blessed are you, merciful One, who give this Torah to the Jewish people. Amen. ויאמר אדוני אל משה ולאהרון לאמור, כי ידבר עליכם פרעה לאמור, תנו לכם מופת, ואמרת אל אהרון, קח את מתך, ואשלך לפני פרעה, ויהי לתנים. ויבוא משה ואהרון אל פרעה, ויעשו כן כאשר ציווה אדוני, וישלח אהרון את מטהו לפני פרעה ולפני עבדיו, ויהי לתנים. ויקרא גם פרעה לחכמים ולמכשפים, ויעשו גם הם חרטומי מצרים בלהטיהם כן. וישליכו איש מטהו ויהי לתנים. ויבלע מטה אהרון את מטותם. ויחזק לב פרעה ולא שמע עליהם כאשר דיבר אדוני. ויאמר אדוני אל משה, כבד לב פרעה מאין לשלח העם. לך את פרעה בבוקר, הנה יוצא המימה, ונצבת לקראתו אל שפת היאור. והמטה אשר נפח לנחש תיקח בידיך, ואמרת אליו, אדוני אלוהי העברים, שלחני אליך לאמור, שלח את עמי ויעבדוני במדבר. והנה לא שמעת עד כה אמר אדוני, בזאת תדע כי אני אדוני, הנה אנוכי מכה במטה אשר בידי, על המים אשר ביהור ונהפכו לדם, והדגה אשר ביהור תמות, ובאש היהור, וניללו מצרים לשתות מים מן היהור. We continue with the alternative blessings for the reading of the Torah, page 369. Holy One of blessing, your presence fills creation. This Torah is a teaching of truth, whole and balanced, and from it comes eternal life for the people who embrace it. Blessed are you, merciful One, who gives this Torah to the Jewish people.
Amen.
As we gather on this Shabbat, we turn our thoughts to those in need of healing. You may have access to the Mishnah Berach list through the e-news that you received yesterday. And also you can follow the link in the comments if you like to offer names. Of course, we invite you to type them in the comments so that we can all see them. Please go ahead and listen. As we offer a prayer for those in need of healing, we also think of those who help in healing, first workers and health workers all over the world. May those who care for the sick with their hands, their voices, and their hearts be blessed with courage and stamina. May those who pursue healing through medical skills and knowledge be blessed with insight, patience, and compassion. May all of us, the sick and the well, together find courage and hope. Together we say, Amen. We conclude the service for the reading of the Torah on page 374 with Etz Chaim.
Derech
We prepare for our moment of remembrance. I invite you to turn to page 579. Each person has a name. We each have a name given by God and given by our father and mother. We each have a name given by our stature and our smile and given by our attire. We each have a name given by the hills and given by the walls. We each have a name given by the stars and given by our friends. We each have a name given by our sins and given by our yearnings. We each have a name given by our enemies and given by love. We each have a name given by celebrations and given by our work. We each have a name given by the seasons and given by our blindness. We each have a name given by the sea and given by our death. This Shabbat, we are observing the Shloshim period for Amy Kirstein, mother and mother-in-law of Andrew and Emily Kirstein, and grandmother of Jonathan and Samuel and Beatrice Kirstein. You're joining us on this Shabbat of remembering a loved one. We invite you to type their names in the comments and click enter. As a congregation, we remember the following yortzites: Jose Adler, Nathan Applebaum, Bela K. Balo, George Belotti, Henny Berg, Riva Bogomolnaya, David Finkelstein, Jean Flum, Nathan Haith, Ida R. Jabin, Charlotte Capel, Noam Kalemsky, A. B. Connens, Sally Nassau-Learman, Myron Levine, Sophia Barrage Matzdorf, Robert Miko, Betty Jean Moses, Barbara Meyer, Mel Pittler, Rowena Robineau, Sarah Rockling, Edith Rubin, Isaac Rutnick, Maurice Weber, Norman Weiner, Wyman Wickersham, J. Willard. Zichronam Livracha, may the memories be for a blessing. Together we join in Kaddish Yatom, the morning's Kaddish on page 598. Gadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alema divra chivuteh ve'yamlich malchuteh, בחייכון ובמכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב, ואמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו, לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דע אמירם ולמה, ואמרו אמן. יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן.
עושה שלום, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל, שים שלום עלינו.
It is now time for some announcements. I would like to thank everybody who's joined from our area and from around our country and the world. Special thanks to Leslie Zucker for the lovely music and to our digital docents for all their work and dedication. Our next Shabbat service is Friday, January 22nd at 6:30 p.m. William Arthur Ward once said, "A warm smile is the universal language of kindness." So we are collecting 500 toothbrushes Here are the toothbrushes and 500 toothpaste containers to spread this universal language of kindness. Smiles to our neighbors at Calvary Temple Baptist Church. We were honored to welcome Reverend Eric Williams to our virtual Bima last night, and I'm looking forward to spreading this universal language of kindness to our friends there and his congregants. We will do a contactless drop off at Beth Torah on Sunday, January 31st from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's going to be in the parking lot, weather permitting, of course. We also want to make sure that you save the date for our Shabbat Shira service, the Shabbat of Song on Friday, January 29th at 6:30 p.m. Being the Shabbat following Tu B'Shevat, the Jewish New Year for trees. This musical service will also include the culmination of our High Hopes campaign. After the service, please join us for a High Hopes celebration on Zoom. We will share a l'chaim and share stories about the leaves on the tree, the newest leaves that we will be dedicating. All Beth Torah members and friends, of course, are welcome.
You know, I was thinking about this toothbrush thing, and it is a very good thing. But if you all need some extra motivation, if you're not motivated by just doing a good deed and bringing a toothbrush, have pity on us. We're going to be standing outside for 2 hours in January in Kansas. So make it worth our while. Bring a bunch of toothbrushes and toothpaste. Have some
It
compassion.
could be 50 degrees.
Well, you know what? This year it could be 50 degrees. But still, bring your toothbrushes and toothpaste. Next song session is Wednesday the 20th, and we are going to be dedicating most of our song time to music by Debbie Friedman. If you've got a favorite Debbie Friedman song, you can drop it in the discussion section of the event, or you can email me and I'll see if I can get that worked out for you.
Wonderful.
Our Gila concert has been rescheduled for February 15th. And if you're not getting our e-news, which contains all of this wonderful information and more, let us know and we can get you on the list. Okay.
Thank you so much, Leslie, for that. We will conclude our time together on this holiday weekend celebrating Martin Luther King's legacy by joining our voices in We Shall Overcome. It's at the very end of our prayer pack.
We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday. We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we'll walk hand in hand someday. We shall live in peace. We shall live in peace. We shall live in peace. We shall live in peace someday. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall live in peace someday.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody, and stay safe out there.
Take care of each other. Mwah.